Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a political figure who consistently grabs global headlines, whose every statement and action ignites, well, fierce debate.
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a very specific document that aims to bring that figure to account, not just locally, but on an international stage.
Yeah, indeed. We're looking at a dossier submitted to the international community, compiled by South African civil rights and farming organizations, specifically AfriForum and Psy.
Right, Afroforum and Psy.
Their explicit mission, as outlined in this detailed document, is to seek punitive action against Julius Malema. He's the dynamic and, let's say, controversial leader of South Africa's economic freedom fighters, or
Yeah,
EFF.
EFF, yeah.
And it's for a range of pretty serious allegations.
This document, it's titled Malema Dossier Final 39.2025.pdf, lays out what seems like a compelling case. It details accusations of human rights violations, significant corruption, and even support for what it labels terrorist organizations. The core argument here, it seems, is that local remedies within South Africa have reportedly failed.
That's the crux of it, yeah. It's prompted this extraordinary appeal for international intervention.
So for you listening, this deep dive offers a unique window into the complex interplay of political rhetoric, the exercise of power, and that challenging, often fraught pursuit of accountability beyond national borders.
That's right. Our goal today is to meticulously distill the key facts and insights from this, well, comprehensive document. We want to help you understand precisely what's being alleged
Okay.
and why these organizations believe international intervention is, for them, the only remaining path.
So we'll look at the three main pillars.
Exactly. First, Malema's highly controversial statements and actions. Second, his distinctive international alignments, particularly his anti-Western stance.
Right.
And finally, the significant corruption claims against him. Throughout, we'll maintain a neutral, factual presentation, focusing solely on the content provided in the source material.
Okay, good. Let's jump right into the heart of what makes Julius Malema such a polarizing figure, his public words and actions. The dossier dedicates a significant section to what it calls his violent rhetoric, hate speech, and racist remarks. What kind of examples does it highlight that really stand out?
Well, the interesting thing here is how the document frames Malema's public persona. It calls it radical and militant, and it blends historical interpretations with the EFF's political ideology.
How so?
It claims his rhetoric frequently targets the white South African minority, often specifically Afrikaners or Boers. Probably the most prominent example cited is his chanting of "kill the Boer, kill the farmer."
Ah, the song.
Yeah, that struggle song, Dubel Ibhunu, which translates to "shoot the Boer." He first publicly sang this back in 2010.
Right, I remember that.
And the dossier notes that despite repeated legal challenges from AfriForum to have it declared hate speech, South Africa's Constitutional Court controversially authorized the chant in March 2025.
With just a one-page ruling, wasn't it?
Exactly, a concise one-page ruling. And that decision certainly drew international attention.
Yeah, that ruling definitely caused a stir. But considering the South African Human Rights Commission also ruled that other stark statements by Malema did not constitute hate speech, how does the dossier address these differing legal interpretations? Or what point is it trying to make by highlighting these specific examples?
Well, that's a crucial point about how words get interpreted, legally versus socially or politically. The dossier, in presenting its case to an international body, really emphasizes the impact and the intent it attributes to these words.
Regardless of the domestic legal rulings.
Precisely. Regardless of those specific rulings, it points to other equally stark statements, like his comment from November 2016, "We are not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now."
At least for now. Wow.
Yeah. And he then reiterated this in a 2018 television interview, and again during a 2022 cross-examination, adding, "It may not be me, but it could be me." So the document uses these statements to build a picture of consistent, arguably aggressive rhetoric.
And beyond those kinds of direct threats, what other examples of his rhetoric does the dossier present that underscore its intensity?
It highlights instances where EFF rallies featured posters with Che Guevara's quote, "A revolutionary must become a cold killing machine motivated by pure hate,"
Goodness.
and banners boldly proclaiming, "Honeymoon is over for white people in South Africa." Malema himself is quoted from an October 2022 event saying, A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
He actually said that.
That's the quote in the dossier, yeah.
Okay.
And he was apparently criticizing EFF members for not retaliating against a white person at the time. So these examples, the document implies, aren't just isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern.
And there are others, too, like cutting the throat of whiteness.
Yeah, he's also quoted as saying, "We are cutting the throat of whiteness in 2018." And he even shared a video featuring former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe's controversial quote, "The only white man you can trust is a dead white man."
These are incredibly strong words. And it's not just verbal. The dossier points to his 2016 statement, "We will remove this government through the barrel of a gun," echoing Mao Zedong.
Right. And tied into all this rhetoric are his consistent, pretty fervent calls for land occupation. Since 2014, he's urged supporters to occupy the unoccupied land because we need the land. He even defied court appearances in 2016 by telling supporters to occupy the land by whatever means necessary.
Okay.
The document even brings up a 2018 X post Twitter, back then, where Malema responded, maybe not, when asked if he organizes farm murders.
That's quite ambiguous.
Very. And in a more direct confrontation. In May 2021, he was reportedly heard threatening a fellow Pan-African Parliament member with, "I'll kill you outside."
So what these examples really illustrate for us as we look at this document is that sort of fraught line between political speech and incitement.
Exactly. Particularly when legal bodies arrive at differing conclusions, leaving this critical ambiguity in the public sphere that, well, this dossier is aiming to highlight internationally.
Okay, so that's the domestic landscape of his rhetoric. But how does this translate into his international worldview? The dossier paints a pretty clear picture here, describing it as distinctly anti-Western.
Yes, very much so.
What are the key elements of this perspective, and how does the EFF generally approach global politics under his leadership?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the EFF's policy, which Malema deeply endorses, is ideologically driven by dismantling what it calls global imperialist dominance of the West.
Right.
They view this as a perpetuator of colonialism and exploitation. So they're highly critical of the U.S. and Europe. They label institutions like the IMF and World Bank as instruments of Western imperialism that exploit African economies.
So it's structural criticism.
Absolutely. For instance, the EFF strongly condemns foreign military presence in Africa and has labeled NATO a war alliance. Malema specifically called the U.S. and NATO bloodthirsty imperialists for their 2011 intervention in Libya.
It really seems to go beyond specific policies, though, and into a fundamental ideological opposition. Does the dossier highlight specific examples of his direct criticism of U.S. and European powers?
Oh, absolutely. The document notes that Malema has labeled the current U.S. administration as the worst form of politics, arguing that the world must move forward without the USA if true progress is to be achieved.
Wow, okay.
He also characterizes U.S. foreign aid as a tool for Western imperialism and control, and blames the U.S. for socioeconomic conditions in countries like Cuba, Libya, Venezuela, and Chile.
And Europe, too.
Yes, his anti-Western sentiment extends to Europe. In 2022, regarding a potential funding withdrawal from the EU for a Pan-African Parliament election, Malema reportedly stated the EU could go to hell with their money.
Pretty blunt.
Very. And the EFF advocates for South Africa's withdrawal from the Commonwealth, seeing it as an institution presided over by the colonizer. He's been particularly critical of France, even leading a protest in 2022 demanding its withdrawal from Africa, directing his message at French white supremacists.
Okay, so given this very strong anti-Western stance, who does the dossier suggest he sees as strategic partners on the global stage? Who does he align with?
Well, this raises that important question about geopolitical alignment and, alternative world orders. The document highlights his strong support for various socialist-leaning states and leaders.
Like who?
He explicitly stated in 2021 that China must resolutely lead a new socialist world order. He saluted the Communist parties of China, Cuba, and Vietnam in February 2024.
Okay, China, Cuba, Vietnam. What about Russia?
Regarding Russia, he said in 2023 that if elected president, he would not only align with Russia in the Ukraine war, but even supply the weapons, because Russia is at war with imperialism.
Supply weapons. That's a strong statement.
It is. He has also praised figures like Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, claiming he never killed innocent souls in United Africa, and Robert Mugabe, whom he called an inspiration.
Despite Mugabe's controversial legacy.
Despite that, yes. He's also a fervent admirer of Cuba's Fidel Castro, saying EFF members must want to be like Fidel Castro, and that the 26 July movement of Cuba inspires us for land, nationalization, and healthcare. Similarly, He admired Venezuela's Hugo Chavez as a true symbol of anti-imperialist struggles.
Right. And crucially, the dossier details his support for Hamas. What does the document actually say about his position there?
Yeah, this is a significant part of the document.
Hmm.
In December 2023, after a meeting with Hamas, a media statement was issued emphasizing the EFF's support for the resistance against the genocidal Israeli state.
Okay.
Malema himself is quoted from October 2023 saying, "There's nothing wrong with what Hamas did, justifying shoot to kill when oppressed."
He justified shoot to kill.
That's the quote presented. He even pledged that if the EFF takes over, it is going to arm Hamas and make sure Hamas has the necessary equipment.
Arm Hamas.
Yes. He has also called for South Africa to close its embassy in Israel and cut diplomatic ties, referring to Israelis as murderers, rapists, and people who kidnap women and kill children.
Very strong language again.
Extremely. What's more, the EFF supported renaming Santon Drive, where the U.S. consulate is located, to Layla Khalid Drive. She's a member of the Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine, known for plane hijackings.
Right. So understanding these international positions and alliances is really key to grasping the full scope of the dossier's argument, isn't it? It sort of sets the stage for this final section on corruption.
Exactly. It provides that broader context.
Okay, that gives us a profound sense of his global stance. But the dossier's final pillar tackles something much more grounded. These allegations of corruption, arguing that he's been protected domestically.
hmm
What are the key cases driving this international appeal?
Well, what's really interesting here is the dossier's explicit purpose. It's to motivate U.S. authorities to consider sanctioning Malema under the Global Magnitsky Act.
The Magnitsky Act. Okay.
Yeah, for alleged corrupt activities. This act typically allows for things like asset freezes and visa bans against foreign individuals involved in human rights abuses or significant corruption.
And the dossier argues South African institutions haven't acted.
Exactly. It cites the perceived inability of South African institutions like the National Prosecuting Authority, the NPA, to act effectively. It highlights two noticeable allegations of organized crime and corruption. First, the on-point corruption matter from 2011.
On point. What was that about?
This involved charges of fraud, corruption, and money laundering. A public protector's report from 2012-13 implicated Malema's Ratanan Family Trust in improperly benefiting from a government contract awarded to On-Point Engineering.
How is he connected?
Malema reportedly accepted a 50% interest in the company's sole shareholder, Gilder Investments, after the tender was awarded. The criminal matter, significantly, was struck off the court roll in 2015
Why was it struck off?
due to a co-accused illness. But according to AFRIFORM, it hasn't been meaningfully reinstated or investigated since.
And there was something about a farm connected to this too, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. The asset forfeiture unit of the MPA, they obtained an unopposed final confiscation order back in 2012 for a farm called School Corral.
Unopposed?
Yeah, Malema didn't oppose it. The dossier strongly argues this farm was bought with the proceeds of crime and presents his failure to oppose the forfeiture order as a key inference.
Implying he knew defending it might expose more.
That's the implication the document makes, yes, that defending the property could potentially expose broader criminal activities.
Okay, so beyond the on-point matter, the dossier points to another significant case of alleged corruption. How does that one unfold?
That would be the Venda Building Society, or VBS, corruption matter. The VBS Mutual Bank was declared insolvent in 2018.
Right, VBS, I remember the headlines.
Yeah, with an estimated R2 billion defrauded, mostly from citizens and municipalities. An investigator's report, the Motau report, found evidence of wide-scale looting.
And Malema's connection.
Well, the CEO of AFRIFORM, Callie Creel, submitted a formal criminal complaint against Malema and his deputy, Floyd Shivambu. It alleged the EFF was used as a criminal enterprise for private looting.
A criminal enterprise. Strong words again.
Very. And the elite police unit, the Hawks, reportedly refused to investigate, citing a duplication of existing charges. AFRIFORM views this refusal as essentially corroboration of their claims. Furthermore, there's a 70-page witness statement mentioned from the now-disgraced former VBS chairperson, Mr. Methodzi, who entered a plea deal.
And what did he say?
It specifically refers to Malema and other EFF members arranging undue donations.
Undue donations. Okay. The dossier also ties into his tax history, doesn't it? What's the relevance there?
It does. The document notes that Malema failed to pay $16 million in taxes to the South African Revenue Service, SARS, between 2005 and 2011. SARS ultimately had to pursue this in court.
16 million rand.
Yes, and the dossier highlights that this timeline coincidentally coincides with the on-point allegations, suggesting, well, a pattern of alleged illicit enrichment over that period.
I see.
So the document concludes by arguing these combined facts from alleged illicit enrichment, misuse of public funds, bribery, money laundering, they justify invoking the Magnitsky Act.
And this fits the U.S. criteria?
It argues it aligns with the U.S. administration's stated aim to counter corruption that corrodes democracy from the inside. So what this section powerfully illustrates for you, the listener, is that perceived failure of domestic legal systems to address these allegations,
Right.
and the subsequent, quite extraordinary call for international measures to step in.
We've journeyed through a fascinating deep dive into this detailed document concerning Julius Malema. We've covered the compelling specifics of his rhetoric, his distinctive and often confrontational international alliances, and these serious allegations of corruption that have cumulatively led to this call for international action. It's a complex picture, isn't it?
Indeed it is, very complex. The document's core message is pretty clear, though. When organizations like AfriForum and Psi feel all local remedies have been exhausted.
You mean courts, prosecutors?
Exactly. From court battles over what they deem hate speech to
And the evolving landscape of international accountability. It shows how civil society organizations are navigating a globalized information environment to push for action when they feel local avenues are, well, blocked.
That's exactly right. Considering the complex interplay of political power, the ongoing struggle for land and identity in South Africa, and this global pursuit of justice, we're left with a provocative thought for you to mull over.
Okay, what's that?
When domestic institutions are perceived to be unable or maybe unwilling to hold influential figures accountable for grave allegations, what responsibilities, if any, actually fall upon the international community? And maybe more importantly, what are the long-term implications of such interventions for national sovereignty and the very fabric of global justice?